Starfield, one of gaming's greatest disappointments and Bethesda's biggest failure.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and I want you all to join me in a collective sigh. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Has it really been a year? Has it actually been a year since
It's been a great year of making fun of Starfield, I have to say. And I'm not even bored yet. I think I'm getting another one in me at this point.
Starfield launched? Like, I remember it like it was yesterday, moving into this house, and like one of the first big games I reviewed was Starfield, and it was such a big moment, and it's been a year since that? That's unbelievable. But ladies and gentlemen, indeed, time is deleting itself before us, and it has been a year since Starfield has released.
But the march of time never stops, Drew.
And I thought now's a great time to take a critical look at where Starfield stands after a year's worth of updates, because the big expansion is about to arrive in Shattered Space, which many believe is going to address some of Starfield's biggest criticisms, like poor exploration. We'll see how all that pans out.
It's not gonna pan out. I have never heard anyone say, oh yeah, Shattered Space is gonna come out and it's gonna save Starfield. It's gonna fix everything. Bro, Shattered Space is probably in reality not going to be even worth $1 if we're being completely honest here. I'm not even being mean, I'm just being realistic. We already know from Shattered Space that there's going to be one whopping new planet and probably 3 or 4 new locations that are handcrafted. And they are the smallest thing ever. Because we already see in the trailer in some places that these things are cinematic shots to make the new locations bigger and better than they truly are, which is pathetic.
On September 30th, but what I want to do right now, as someone who played every single update on Starfield as it released, is give you my thoughts on the game at this point in time. What has aged well for me?
Well, that's a short video. It's bad. And nothing has changed.
Has aged poorly for me? And obviously some of that is going to dovetail into things like exploration, which we talked about a million times, and how I think it's hurting the game even more nowadays, but also some surprises and conversations about the leveling system I want to have. I also want to talk about dialogue and how I think things have improved there, and so much.
How has dialogue improved? Dude, how bad is Starfield's dialogue? It's probably honestly the most disappointing part. It feels like it was written by a 5-year-old. You go next to someone, talk to them, and they instantaneously, without question, treat you like you're their best friend from childhood or something like that. They tell you everything. Go into someone's house, meet them, and they're like, ah, yes, you stole from my house. That's very cool. I love you, by the way, bro. It is just really, really sad and bad. And those are not even the worst examples. Probably quest lines and how little actual roleplay and bad dialogues is the best example. One of my favorites is the Crimson Fleet quest line where you can join them, which is hilarious, by the way, I have to add. It goes like this. You go to the top dog, you say, I want to join the Crimson Fleet because I have a big peepee. And he's like, okay, these guys also want to join. And you go do stuff, and one of the people who's joining is like, hey, want to betray the big guy? Hey, want to betray him? And you're like, well, you can say yes or no. And you say no. What are the consequences of that? Nothing! You can't betray him. He doesn't even get shot. You can't shoot him because he's invulnerable. And you can't tell on him to anyone. Hey, this guy kind of wants to betray you now, but maybe we should kill him or something? No. And then he does that like 3 or 4 more times. And he just flat out threatens you. You still don't want to join me? Well, then bad things are going to happen to you. And you still can't do anything to him. And that at the end of the quest line, the dialogue is so great that you join the Crimson Fleet and the other guy is out. Does he get killed? No. If you try to shoot him, he's yet again invulnerable. And the Crimson Fleet that just denounced him as trash, by the way, is gonna be like, oh, you can't shoot him, we're pirates. And then you're gonna have to fight them. It is just blatantly sad.
Much more. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what Bethesda Game Studios has going on, whether it be Fallout, Starfield, or Elder Scrolls, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. I want to begin at the top with some of the technical changes for Starfield on a feature level. When it comes to PC, I just want to say right out the gate, it took way too long to get things like DLSS and FOV sliders into Starfield, and I find that to be
Every Bethesda game comes out without an FOV slider, and then it takes half a year for Bethesda to add one. And everyone knows that there's not going to be an FOV slider, and Bethesda knows that they will have to add one at some point because Bethesda. And then they take half a year with a team of 200 people to actually make the FOV slider, and it's probably bugged at the release.
particularly unacceptable. Starfield, just on a feature level, wasn't ready for PC, and I don't get how that happened at all. Something like DLSS, I can understand because AMD money hats a lot of these types of deals, but something like an FOV slider, I just am still struggling to wrap my head around, but it's there now. Also, on the console side of things, you do have 60 frames on Series X and Series S. I have not
But not on max graphics.
tested the Series S version, but on
Which, to be fair, you don't actually notice because the graphics are really bad. Starfield looks like a game that should have come out 15 years ago.
Series X, where I predominantly play Starfield, I do think it runs pretty smooth. Sometimes it will drop frames a bit when there's a lot of NPCs on screen, if it gets a little too busy.
Like 5 or 4.
Nothing crazy. It's like down and back up again. It's relatively stable and the game still looks good. So yeah, not perfect, but definitely nice to see it running at 60 frames on Series X. Beyond the technical stuff, one big change for me is how much I appreciate Starfield's artistic direction nowadays. That's because with
Are you
Retro
kidding?
Rewind, I've started to watch a lot of movies, and one of my favorites is Alien. I know, I've missed so many classics, but I really do adore Alien.
One of my absolute least favorite things about Starfield is the aesthetic design and design in general. I mean, just look at this. Just look at this room. Look at this room. It makes no sense on any conceivable level. What is this supposed to be? I don't know. You have kitchen drawers here. You have a plant there. There's 50 billion some kind of pipes going here for no reason. It's just why? None of anything makes any sense in Starfield. You have lights here, but there's no lights there. The lighting doesn't make sense. There's a bigger pipe here. Then there's another pipe here. Every Starfield building is just covered in crates, cupboards, shit on the walls like this, tarps and everything like that. Starfield just makes absolutely no sense from, any point of view. It's just like, what the hell? Also, look at this. There's one kitchen table here. What is this supposed to be? A kitchen? Why is there a small kitchen table here with one stool? What's happening?
And one of my favorites is Alien. I know, I've missed so many classics, but I really do adore Alien, in turn Alien Romulus. I also watched Aliens. So I feel like a really...
Look at this. Even this small corridor has a pipe just randomly going there. These buildings have less wall and more pipe in them.
Good understanding of the retro future artistic direction now. And boy, oh boy, did Bethesda Game Studios unapologetically lift from that. But as someone who thinks Alien is a top 5 movie, I'm totally cool with Bethesda Game Studios lifting that art style because I think it works really well in Starfield because there's this sort of difference.
Look at this. More pipes, more random stuff. This is like the International Space Station, but the difference is they have a lot of scientific tools. This is just random MacGuffins around because reasons.
Between really high future areas, particularly in the spaceships. Like, I love walking around those interiors, or like high sci-fi areas. It really does remind me of Alien, but then there are parts where, like, I thought of Romulus when walking around Neon, and I thought that was particularly cool as well. So I just thought the artistic direction has worked well.
Neon is just pathetic. I remember when Starfield came out and people were like, "Oh, Neon's amazing. Have you seen it? So many lights." And the biggest copers were saying, "Oh, Neon looks better than Cyberpunk 2077."
Well, for me, with my lack of
Oh,
experience in
boy.
certain things, where I was like, oh, sweet, it's cool to kind of connect with the source there. But beyond my amateur movie takes, what about the actual game itself? Well, there's much to be said here. Like, for example, missing quality of life features that I don't quite understand why they're not there yet. I think this was a problem with priority. many people were losing their minds over no city maps being in Starfield. And as I said when the update dropped, and I'll say it again,
they didn't have city maps because, yeah, this is literally it. This is what you see. The moment you open a map, if you even have 2 brain cells, you instantly understand how empty and void Starfield is of anything.
again, I don't use these. I never use these. I never had a desire to use these because there's nothing to really explore in Starfield where I need a localized map, ever. Not a single time. I think it's a feature people wanted because it was in many of Bethesda Game Studios' game before that, and it was kind of a strange oversight, and I understand and respect that. For me, I think a more needed quality of life improvement that's still not there is a galaxy list, a planet list. Hopping between different star systems and different planets with this UI just doesn't work. For example, when I'm looking...
Yeah. In Starfield, a lot of people lose the main planets because you can't find them easily.
all these different
If you forgot what's a main planet name, good luck finding it where you need to actually go to a city.
Our systems, I can't tell one from the other. And it's a little bit frustrating at times to try and be able to tell, like, what's lined up with that one? Why is that behind that? I don't quite follow that at all. So sometimes it's frustrating when, say, two star systems are lining up with each other and you didn't even know they were there until you clicked on it. And since all the star systems look alike, it's just really hard to tell. And that's part of the problem with Starfield's quantity of star systems, quantity of planets, is it's just hard to keep track of all of them. It's almost too...
And they're boring. They're boring. If you have been to three places in Starfield, congratulations. Then the fourth place is going to be probably a combination or the same of those three places. It's just rinse and repeat.
Too big, and unless they fill it out quickly, I think that'll forever be the narrative for Starfield. Because of course we have to talk about exploration. I know I have talked about it dozens upon dozens of times since Starfield has launched, but just as a more critical look at the game, I do think the exploration is hurting it more and more over time. And I'm wondering if Shattered Space is going to address a pocket of Starfield where it's like, hey, here's the exploration experience you were looking for say...
It's going to give you one planet, maybe two with 4 locations. Good luck.
20, 30 hours. I don't even know if it's going to be that long. Versus, hey, we're going to bring a lot of new activities and missions and places of interest and locations and that sort of stuff to the rest of Starfield. You have to remember, there's a ton of ground to cover with Starfield. But what I noticed when firing this game back up these last couple of weeks is this game desperately needs new content, new locations, new dungeons, and lots of it. It's just not a fun game to explore and get lost in. Unlike, say, Fallout.
I'm sorry, but this is the worst and stupidest point anyone could ever say, okay? When you are tiptoeing around Starfield this much, that you're saying, oh, there's not enough places to explore because you don't want to address the crux of the problem, which is poor AI generation of planets and not enough content actually made with hand. That is really just honestly sad, okay? Starfield has more than 1 million systems where you... No, not 1 million, I'm sorry. It has something like 1,000 planets that you can go to. That's a lot. Starfield completely does not lack from a amount of dungeons. There are more dungeons than anyone ever would want to explore in Starfield. The problem with them is they're boring, dull, and the same. There's legitimately 2 enemy types in this game pretty much.
Scrolls where I get pulled in. And why is that? It's because of the way Starfield delivers content, which works for Starfield, but I think they just need a lot more of it to continue that style of delivery. And that's through questing. In Starfield, you need to grab quests to find out these places of interest. Unless you want to go through a game of this scale with a fine-tooth comb, best of luck to you, because it's not like Fallout or Elder Scrolls where once I start to run dry of content, I just bring up the world map and I look, that part of the map looks a little empty. Yeah, I might have missed a couple locations there. Let me go hit that. And I do it every single time, and it works like a charm.
Yep.
Whereas Starfield, I can't do that. I can bring up these galaxies and these planets and scan them, I guess, maybe, but it's just like impossible to track all of it at once. It's not like a map where you can bring up a quick look at everything. So in Starfield, when my quest log started to run dry past the 100-hour mark, I was like, okay, I want to play more of this game, but I don't really know where to go. And that's what leads into the problem where Starfield has so many quest categories. Like you have miscellaneous, missions, activities, and all these are kind of BS to varying degrees. And the best ones are definitely packed into the main story as far as I'm concerned, and the faction missions. Because
he is right, but again, the caveat is the main missions are still extremely trash. Again, the dialogues are just so unbelievably poor.
yes, while I do have
Every single NPC is a carbon copy of another of the exact NPC you saw last time, and none of your choices matter, even if because you don't even have choices.
issues with Starfield's exploration and how it's
Your biggest choice in the game is, do you want to reanimate the dead natural predators of the terrormorphs, or do you want to just delete them as a species? If you delete them as a species, they still spawn in the game, so no consequences there. And if you resurrect the old species, which by the way is a slow-moving giraffe, I will repeat, a slow-moving giraffe is the natural enemy of the terrormorph that's supposed to keep them in check. Terrormorphs, something that just balls to the walls goes and kills you because reasons, has a natural enemy of a just big giraffe that's slow, can't run, and makes no sense and is really weak in combat, that humans drove into existence. And we're supposed to believe that these harmless giraffes that humans drove into extinction are the natural predators of the terrormorph. Oh man.
some of Bethesda's worst, I do think some of Bethesda's best writing and questing is packed here in Starfield. I think about companions like Andreja and her tear between...
Bro, Andreja looks like she stole this arm from someone and just attached it to herself, okay?
her dedication to the Great Serpent, House Faroon, and how she's also in love with you, and how it's a real...
It's lame. All of this is very stupid and lame. All the companions are literally goody two-shoes that literally don't give an F about anything you do unless it's bad, and then they're gonna say, "Stop! I don't like you." And then you kill a civilian and they're like, "Ah, that's it. I know when you joined Constellation we said that we don't care about what you do, but secretly we're actually the, justice police or something like that." And then they're like, "I can't travel with you." And then there is a convincing system which you can't literally fail. And you're like, "Okay, I know I just committed genocide and that's bad, but I'll change." And they're like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll give you another chance." Then you kill 10 more civilians after 1 second, and she's like, "I cannot go." Oh, you're gonna change. Well, that's cool, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna stay. Kill me. Just end my suffering.
really well-told story and an incredible character. She really is the star of this game to me personally, but it's also the fact...
She's trash. She's boring. The only reason House Varun people say good things about it because Bethesda has mucked up so much of the Starfield story that an enigmatic thing that you know literally nothing about and no one can tell you anything about them is the best part of the lore because it hasn't been ruined.
Actions packed in here. Storylines like the UC Vanguard are exceptional and have tons of twists, and I really enjoy them. I think the main...
Yeah, the biggest twist in that, by the way, that is the Terrormorph storyline. The biggest twist there is probably the fact that, listen, you're not gonna believe this, but I am a clone of this male dude. But you're a woman. Yes, I know, because woke.
Story for Starfield is the best Bethesda Game Studios has done. I enjoyed the mission variety and the choices and the twists and turns there and the way things end up. I was really happy with the questing.
By the way, what is astrodynamics? I don't know even. I just don't. None of this matters.
In this game, the only problem is I know there are stories out there I've missed and I want to find them. I know this because I do host an Xbox podcast and we do talk about Starfield often, and when the game first came out and as we continue to revisit it and discuss it more and more, I'm hearing stories about things people have found that I haven't yet found. And that is a cool component of Starfield, but there is a degree of me wanting to get to that content, but not really knowing the exact way.
This probably does sound good, but do not be fooled. As everything Starfield, this is actually bad. You know why it's bad? Because there are some unmarked, unique locations that are kind of cool for 5 minutes, but the problem is that they are so sparse, you're roughly going to encounter one in maybe 20 or 30 hours of gameplay. So, yeah, you literally need to insert hundreds of hours of gameplay to see these all unique Easter egg locations and things like that, because you're not finding them otherwise.
There. I guess I could look up a guide online, but that's not the ideal way of experiencing things. But I will just say, from top to bottom, when Starfield is giving you faction storylines, when they're giving you the main storyline, companions, they're pretty damn good, even down to the way companions will respond to you and the choices you've made.
The pirates, the ones known for robbing, murder, and general betrayal, they will be good allies? Are you listening to yourself?
That is the most stupidest autistic sounding dialogue ever.
But think of the cost.
Wait, what did he answer? I actually did not read. I'd rather be with them than against them.
But think of the cost. If not to you or us, to the people of the settled systems upon whom the Crimson Fleet prey. Their
So deep and so poor.
lives are endangered by this, by what you have done. Does that not concern
Wait, is that just an in-game lag?
are endangered by this, by what you have
Yep, it is. Man, is there anything else I even need to say at this point? Is there?
done? Does that not concern you?
I know it's probably sacrilege to say, but to me, this is Mass Effect.
That is so poor dialogue. You can tell that it's kind of almost realistic, but the way that it's written, it's like, okay, listen, we don't need to offend anyone.
Levels of reactivity where I made a choice and my companions really don't like that choice, and they let me know that, and they'll leave you straight up and not join you. I love that this is packed in the game. It's something we've asked from Bethesda Game Studios for a long time, and while I do get lost in the sauce when it comes to talking about Starfield's exploration woes, I do think this is something that does get overlooked with this game, that it does have pretty decent reactivity across the board and makes me feel like my choices have.
By the way, if you didn't read, if you're not reading this, I'll summarize what's happening because I'm actually reading this. She's effectively saying, I am socially retarded because my culture is a backwater ditch of non-humans, and I don't understand any of these empathies or being anything like a human, even though I am human myself and my culture is human, but we somehow magically are completely socially autistic.
Activity across the board.
That's the best character right there. The deepest character. I'm socially retarded. Bravo. Amazing.
And makes me feel like my choices had some impact on the people closest to me. But when it comes to everything else, it's definitely a crapshoot. Like, I had one where I went to this location called the Well, which was beneath New Atlantis, and I talked to this individual, and she worked for Mast, and she was having this power issue, and I'm like, where's this gonna lead? And Starfield has no problem just leading you to nothing. Like, they'll just lead you down this quest line where you're flipping all these junction boxes. It's like, okay, cool. Oh, it turns out maybe the trade authority is involved. I'm like, ooh, is there gonna be corruption here? And it turns out it leads you to an apartment, and in that apartment, someone who's unnamed is just siphoning credits from Galbank, and then you have that information and you just turn it over to one of two people, and the quest ends there.
Oh, this is not even the worst of it. Listen, one of Starfield's absolute worst things about the game is the start of the game. First of all, you start off as a miner, a dusty as they call it, and you literally just don't get to do anything for the first 10 minutes of the game because it's slow, methodicus, and boring dialogue. And then you're just indoctrinated into Constellation, and they don't even try to convince you that you should go to Constellation. It's like, hey, I'm from Constellation. Did you touch that artifact? Well, now you're special, kiddo. And it's like, I know, thank you. My parents told me I have autism, but still, you're special. Come with us. And they don't even convince you, okay? And the defenders of this shit crap game are gonna be like, well, that's the main story, Cliffist. They don't need to. What do you want to do? Just ignore it, skip it? One, yes, that would be awesome if I could actually say no to Constellation. That would be cool. But that's not the problem. The fact is that you just they just come in and you have no choice. They don't even convince you. They're like, just, aha, now you're part of Constellation. Come here. And you're like, yeah, okay. They don't even try to convince you. There's not a single line of dialogue that makes you want to join Constellation except, congratulations, you're special in all the wrong ways. And that's it. It makes absolutely no sense.
There was nothing.
And then you get to the main city, and you know what's the worst part of being main city? First of all, you can't figure out where are any shops. Well, that was the start of the game. Now there's mini maps. I guess that kind of helps slightly. But who cares, right? In the main city, if you play Bethesda games, the first thing in the main city that you do is probably go all around the main city and see everything, right? Well, you know where that's going to lead you? That's going to lead you going to another main city, and then another main city. Your first 3 hours of gameplay are effectively go around different main cities if you explore cities, because that's where everything's gonna lead you. Just different cities where you just talk and hear bad dialogue.
Nothing else. Like, there was no aftermath of that choice. There was no like, okay, I'll contact you with next steps. There was no like seeking out that criminal. Like, Starfield, as I defined it before, is a very A-B game where many great quests have like A, B, C, D. Like in Starfield, you'll go here, do this, you're done, right? Like you're done when you hit step B. Whereas many other games will have you go A, B, like go talk to someone, then go to this location, go through this dungeon, and then after you're done with this dungeon, then you'll meet someone at the end of it, and then you'll have a grand finale, and the quest will be over. It is a walk backwards.
That's also actually a really bad way to do gaming, honestly, but okay.
Many cases in Bethesda Game Studios' quest design, and I'm not quite sure why Starfield's quests exist in such a continuously open-ended manner. I think the solution for this, though, is more places like Cydonia on Mars. This is one of the first locations you hit in the main story, and it's what got me kind of excited initially for Starfield, because upon firing it up, I'm like, okay, like I can see the vision here. Like you have big places like Neon or New Atlantis, and then little settlements like this that have their own quest lines, and they have their own little factions there, and own NPCs that have their own stories to tell. It's like, okay, I can get behind this. But
no.
Then you quickly find that they're few and far between and difficult to discover if they even are there. And I think just more of these peppered throughout. A civilization per star system would be ideal, quite frankly, because then you have this hub for the entire star system and can kind of build out that way. And if Bethesda could do that gradually over the course of years, I think that would really help this game out a ton. One way they've tried to fix this is because when you drop on these planets, even though there's a lot of procedurally generated content, as you already know, is going from point A to point B took too long. You just had your boost packs, your jump packs. Now they have vehicles in the Rev 8 in the latest update for Starfield, and it's there you can drive around.
Yeah, this is how good it is.
I'd say Halo style if you're playing it on controller, where you have your 2 thumbsticks.
That's just calling Halo bad, okay?
That you're using to steer and aim the camera, and this vehicle also has a weapon on it. You can boost jump with it. You can boost literally with it and go faster. This is great to have, but now it's like a piece.
Okay. Honestly, does anyone see this gameplay and think, wow, this looks enjoyable? Because the answer is no.
To the puzzle. And it kind of puts a magnifying glass on what I'm talking about, which is now if we start to fill out these worlds.
Also, you can clearly see the magical space dust of magical space planets go straight through the magical vehicle that you're supposed to magically traverse the planet with. The middle is incorporeal. Someone took a physics class and understood that everything is 99.999% emptiness, and took that a little bit too literally when they made the dust physics go through solid objects.
I'm going point A to point B quicker and getting to actual places of interest. Then we've got something here. So it feels like Starfield is halfway there in a lot of areas when it comes to its exploration. And more than anything, if I could emphasize something here,
Oh
as I
boy.
know it's a redundant talking point, it's already been established, is that if Bethesda continues to support Starfield, year 2 should totally be dedicated, as far as I'm concerned, to just building content in these star systems, like nothing else. And I say that because Starfield has enough features. You have spaceship building, now you have ground vehicles, you have great...
The spaceship building is stupid because everyone tries to ignore as much as space travel because it's not really travel. Space exploration doesn't exist. And space fighting is completely not tied to your actual combat skills, which means if you have neglected space combat for, 30 levels, your opponents are just going to be stronger than you, and there's not much really you can do about it. Champ, bucko. Have fun with that.
Great shooting in there. You have plenty of loot. Like, there's a lot there. Like, the skeleton, if you will, the framework is there. Just build content with what exists. I don't think the game needs any more features personally, unless they're saved for like big expansions where that's a big moment for the game, and that would make more sense to me. On the more positive side, I do think dialogue is much better in Starfield with this new camera, a la Skyrim. You can turn off the dialogue camera. It doesn't pull you in kind of like Oblivion did, and I was pro Starfield dialogue camera at first, but as time went on, I felt like I was getting just too confined, too locked in. And that's
Yeah, because this is the graphics quality right here. I don't want to look at this. I want to close my eyes and float into oblivion at this point.
because Starfield's conversations go on for too long, which now it works for me because I see the world active around me and it feels a little bit more immersive. Like, it's a quality I didn't know I appreciated until Bethesda allowed me to turn it off. And now I always hope they have this kind of feature in their future games.
I wonder if he's going to even mention bugs, because Starfield is pathetic, obviously. And bug fixing is one of those ultra pathetic things that Bethesda does. In Starfield, 1 year later, Bethesda is still having the same old tradition of fix one bug, 2 new bugs come out, okay? They can't fix new bugs. They have fixed multiple bugs 3 or 4 times now, and they still pop up. When a huge patch for Bethesda is considered, oh, we fixed 3 bugs and created 15 new bugs at the same time. Have fun. The only thing that Bethesda did fix in a fast manner is the most ludicrous thing, by the way. You know what Bethesda did fast? Fixed it? So people figured out that in Starfield, as in every other Bethesda game, under every vendor, there exists a chest with all of their stuff in it. And people found a way that you can glitch through the ground, because obviously, and you can just loot these chests. And, well, obviously, not a lot of people use this, because who honestly gives a crap, right? But when people got news of it, it popped up on Reddit and videos and whatever. Bethesda fixed that in less than a day. They actually unironically fixed that thing in less than a day. Nothing else. Nothing else. Soft locking, hard locking, needing to delete save files, corrupted save files. No. But fixing the fact that people went under the floor and looted chests from vendors, that they fixed in less than a day. It is insane.
I also love that they've added new gameplay options to adjust pretty much everything from damage and healing to carrying capacity or when the game even saves, and these give XP bonuses or negates the amount of XP you'll gain, which I thought was pretty cool.
I guess this is a feature, but ultimately it does nothing because all of the enemies get staggered no matter what you do.
At the same time, there are still, I would say, design issues like the digipick system is there, and I think individually it's fine. It's a totally fine lockpicking minigame.
The digipick system is actually probably the best thing that they have done, because you get the hang of digipicks really fast, and unless you're an extremely low IQ individual, you should not have problem with this system. It's rarely going to brick you. It's rarely going to be bad. You just need to, have a couple of tries at it, and then after you're going to be pretty much going autopilot on them. It's not a big deal.
Bethesda Game Studios is the king of lockpicking mini games, but the problem is the frequency of it and the time spent, especially for the loot you get out of some of them. Like, oh, I digipicked them.
Oh, I almost forgot about that. So, you know how when you're playing Fallout, you get your first locked box and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be huge! An easy locked box? I'm gonna get a stim pack, I'm gonna get a little bit of ammo, I may even get a gun upgrade or something like that. I'm gonna get so much things that I care about. And later on, you move higher and higher, where medium boxes are the same, then it's very hard block boxes and things like that, right? Not in Starfield, though. Easy locked box can contain anything between 1 and 1 credit worth of things that you don't care about, and a very hard box can also have literally nothing inside of it of even remote value. So, picking locks in Starfield is virtually completely literally useless. Because they effed up the rewards that you're supposed to get in these boxes because they don't matter.
The master lock, and guess what? I got like 15 credits out of it. It's just never rewarding. It's too inconsistent. It's where the game's like procedural generation just works against you. I do have some problems with Starfield's leveling system nowadays. I feel like it's more of a challenge system than a leveling system. And I like how Skyrim did it, of course, where you level by playing, because Skyrim kind of encourages you and makes it easier to act.
Okay, I'm honestly getting bored, so let's skip to these parts. The talent point system is the dumbest thing ever. They effectively tried to mix Fallout New Vegas achievements where, you use 100 stim packs, congratulations, stim packs now heal 10% more, which is a kind of a cool thing that you randomly just get and you're like, wow, that's cool. And then they try to mix that with talents. So, first of all, half of these things are bugged. Second of all, half of these things are completely useless. Third of all, you have no idea how these things scale. Because when it says plus 10% X weapon damage, and the next talent point is plus 20% weapon damage, you have no idea. Is it 10% plus 20%, or is it 10% times then 20%, or how does it work? No one knows. And to actually be allowed to level these things up, you need to do ridiculously stupid garbage. For example, you want to level a weapon up? Okay, that's fine. That's shoot people with the appropriate weapon time. Almost acceptable. But other things are just annoying. For example, better shields for ships or something like that. What do you need to do? Well, you need to recharge your shields for a ship 20 times. Which means you're gonna go to outer space, because if you don't do this, you can't actually unlock the talent point and put a point in there. You're gonna find a rock, and you're gonna bump into that rock, so this does this little damage. You're gonna wait for it to regenerate, and then you're gonna do the same thing 19 times over again. Stealth. By the way, I found a bug for stealth. It's not a bug, I guess it's a feature, but it's the feature, so no one knows. For stealth, if you want to increase your stealth, you need to do critical hits on targets while stealthed. And considering the start of the game is so boring in the cave, everyone starts shooting the miners with the laser mining rifle. And turns out that actually gives you progress towards being able to update your stealth perks. Great. And it's really dumb, because a lot of these are just so annoying to get, tedious, and no one likes it. Also, Starfield is the first Bethesda game where the moment I get a level, well, actually, second Fallout 76 also kind of does that, but this is the true one. In Fallout 76, you kind of cared about level ups, but in Starfield, there were so many situations where I was like, oh, I got a level up. I opened the tab, and it's like, oh, right, I actually got 5 level ups. I just didn't fucking care. The first Bethesda game to mess up leveling.
To go ahead and get this perk rank here. And on paper, it sounds great until you have to do that. And then you run dry of resources. And so then you have to go hunt and scavenge for them. And they're difficult to find. And then you finally...
Well, I guess honestly, this is it. Anyway, that was Maddie Plays. Starfield is a disappointment on any level. And if you enjoy the game, that's fine. But you should probably rethink your life choices. Bye.